WADR West Africa Democracy Radio
WADR Promoting Dialogue.
It's midday in Dakar and Banjul, 1 p.m. in Abuja. Many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on WADR.org. This is NewsLink. Let's begin first with our major stories. Burkina Faso's transitional president, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, replaces the Chief of Staff of National Gendarmerie after full coup attempt. Ghana's Speaker of Parliament, Albert Bambin, urges African leaders to prioritize trust building to prevent military coups.
Parliaments in the sub-region and in Africa in particular must try to understand the reasons for the loss of trust and confidence in the leadership of democratic processes and institutions that has characterized the recent spate of disruptions of constitutional order and constitutionalism in the continent.
The regional body ECOWAS and WFP initiated a joint program to promote homegrown school meals and economic prosperity in the sub-region. And civil society organizations in Liberia advocate peace as the country counts down to October 10 general elections.
Considering the fact this is the first time since the end of the Civil War, Liberia goes to election without the presence of an international peacekeeping force. Security issue is very key.
Stay with us for details of these stories and more.
Here is Abdullahi Hassan with NewsLink.
Once again, many thanks for joining us and a warm welcome to our listeners in Gambia, Liberia and Ghana. Our top story takes us to Burkina Faso, where the nation's Chief of Staff of the National Gendarmerie, Lieutenant Colonel Everard Sonda, was removed from his position. His immediate dismissal followed a presidential decree by the interim president, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. According to a decree issued on Wednesday, Lieutenant Colonel Kogari Natama has been designated as the new Chief of Staff of the National Gendarmerie. As Imo Edit reports, the pronouncement came nearly a week after a recent attempted coup against the ruling junta on September 27, days before Traoré's first anniversary in office.
This development comes in the wake of the Burkina Faso government's announcement last Wednesday that it successfully thwarted a coup attempt and had apprehended individuals involved in the plot, including gendarmes and soldiers. According to a press release from the Military Prosecutor's Office, 2 individuals involved in the attempted coup were still at large. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, in an interview with the National Press last Friday regarding the failed coup, declared a firm stance, stating that there will be no leniency for anyone attempting to destabilize the country. He characterized the perpetrators as manipulated individuals and reassured them that there was no internal unrest within the National Armed Forces. Captain Traoré assumed power on September 30, 2022. After overthrowing Lieutenant Colonel Paul Harrison Sandaogo Damiba, who had himself ousted civilian president Roch-Marc Christian Kabore 8 months earlier. Regarding the organization of elections scheduled for July 2024, as outlined in the Transition Charter, Traoré emphasized that securing the entire territory was his top priority. He underlined the need for a comprehensive electoral process that extended beyond Ouagadougou, the nation's capital, and Bobo-Dioulasso, including other towns and regions.
Imo Edit filed that report. Meanwhile, in Mali's northern region, Tuareg rebels have declared the capture of yet another military base belonging to the Malian army. This week's seizure by the rebel group, although unconfirmed by the state, marks the 5th such conquest in recent weeks. San Donald Mendy has won this report.
Mohamed El Malud Ramadan, the spokesperson for the Coordination of Azawad Movement, CMA, informed Reuters on Wednesday that their fighters had successfully seized control of the Malian army camp in Twaza after engaging in combat. As of now, there has been no immediate response or statement from the army. The CMA represents an alliance of rebel factions comprised of Mali's semi-nomadic Tuareg population who have long voiced grievances about government neglect and have sought autonomy for their desert homeland known as Azawad. In 2015, the CMA entered into a peace agreement with the previous government and pro-government militias. However, tensions have rekindled since the military assumed control through two coups in 2020 and 2021, forged alliance with the Russian military contractor Wagner Group, and ousted French forces and UN peacekeeping troops from the region.
San Donald Mendy with that report. Away from the Sahel, Al-Bangbin, Ghana's Speaker of Parliament, is calling on African parliaments and their leaders to prioritize building and maintaining the trust of their citizens to prevent military coups and instability in parts of the continent. The statement formed part of Bangbin's address to delegates at the 66th Commonwealth Parliamentary Conference in Accra, Ghana. More than 600 participants from various Commonwealth countries were in attendance. The speaker eulogized Ghana's parliamentary journey and advised leaders across the continent to take cues from it to strengthen their respective rule of law and constitutionalism.
Our experimentation of parliamentary democracy is now a full-blown feature of our governance architecture. This year, we celebrate 30 years of stable parliamentary democracy. Ours is a stable democracy in a sub-region that has in recent times developed a notoriety for reversing and backsliding on its democratic journey. Parliaments in the sub-region and in Africa in particular must try to understand the reasons for the loss of trust and confidence in the leadership of democratic processes and institutions that has characterized the recent spate of disruptions of constitutional order and constitutionalism in the continent. But it's important for us to note that these disruptions are always started by the civilian regimes themselves. They are those who go against the dictates of their own constitution and the mandate of the people and invite others to take over. We should be able to pick the signals, should there be any, and to steer our democracies away from such incidents in future. With this, ladies and gentlemen, let's encourage ourselves to endeavor to restore dignity in elected office and to rebuild trust and confidence in democratic processes and institutions.
Ghana's Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bangbin, speaking there.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. NEWSLINK continues.
Now, the regional body, the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, in collaboration with the World Food Programme, WFP, is initiating an effort to actively involve stakeholders in promoting the advantages of school feeding programs. This initiative, named Investing in Homegrown School Meals to Strengthen Human Capital, Women's Economic Empowerment and Contribute to Economic Development, is a joint program designed to enhance the economic prosperity of nations within the sub-region. James Ojapon completes the story.
According to the 2022 State of School Feeding Worldwide Report, ECOWAS member states have successfully provided meals to over 22 million school-aged children between 2020 and 2022. Remarkably, this school feeding program has continued to operate effectively despite the numerous and diverse challenges facing the West African sub-region, including economic downturns, post-COVID-19 repercussions, climate change, and conflict. Margot van der Velden, the WFP's regional director and interim representative for Western Africa, believes that increased investment in homegrown school meals will contribute significantly to the clear objective of achieving universal school meal coverage.
And so therefore it starts with working together with the governments around a law that needs to exist. It starts to follow a budget discussion and how do we get within the national budgets allocation to school feeding set up. And then it also looks into what would be the appropriate programs for a specific country to design a school feeding program.
Margot further explained that there are distinct distribution models tailored to ensure the provision of nutritious food for school children across the region.
And so we're helping through to designing those different models. There can be a model where we are encouraging governments, for example, to buy through wholesalers in a country.
The partnership between these two entities has led to the creation of over 200,000 direct jobs, positively impacting the economic well-being of women engaged in various aspects such as food processing, cooking, food packaging, and transportation. In support of this initiative, the regional body ECOWAS has allocated domestic funding, providing 85% of school meals to member countries through the program.
James Japan reporting there. Let's head to Cote d'Ivoire, where the International Monetary Fund (IMF) has confirmed the successful validation of the initial phase of the assistance program. This milestone paves the way for the disbursement of a substantial sum totaling $500 million to the country. The program, endorsed by the IMF at the close of May, spans a duration of 40 months and encompasses a grant total of $3.5 billion, equivalent to 2.6 billion special drawing right, which is the IMF's unit of account comprised in a basket of major global currencies. And to some health stories, the World Health Organization WHO is calling on the Ghanaian government for the expansion of the National Health Insurance Scheme (NHIS) to include coverage for critical illnesses with a specific focus on kidney diseases. Dr. Francis Chisaka Kasolo, the WHO country director, has emphasized that this initiative aims to ease the financial strain faced by patients who require dialysis. Ogiberika tells us more.
Dr. Francis Chisaka Kasolo, the country representative of the World Health Organization, outlined the critical importance of broadening healthcare coverage to encompass renal treatment services. This expansion would serve as a significant relief for patients grappling with the considerable financial strain associated with such treatment, especially in light of the recent public outcry over the escalating dialysis fees at Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Addressing the issue during a media event held in Accra, Dr. Kasolo underscored the necessity for a comprehensive re-evaluation of the operations of the National Health Insurance Scheme, NHIS. He highlighted that if the NHIS were to include renal treatment services in its benefits package, it could have a substantial impact on reducing the financial burden that patients face, particularly in relation to the increasing out-of-pocket expenses linked to dialysis costs. Incorporating renal treatment services into the NHIS benefits package, as proposed by Dr. Kasolo, holds the potential to not only alleviate the financial strain on patients, but also provide an effective solution to the mounting out-of-pocket expenditures associated with the high cost of dialysis. This move would signify a significant step toward enhancing access to essential healthcare services for those in need while promoting financial security and well-being for patients.
Ogebirika will that report. You are listening to NewsLink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Burkina Faso's transitional president, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, replaces Chief of Staff of National Gendarmerie after full coup attempt. Ghana's Speaker of Parliament, Alba Bagbin, urges African leaders to prioritize trust building to prevent military coups. ECOWAS and WFP initiate a joint program to promote homegrown school meals and economic prosperity in West Africa. Still ahead in the news, civil society organizations in Liberia advocate peace as the country counts down to October 10 general elections. We also have the press review and sports update. Please stay with us.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
Remember, we are streaming live on wadr.org and on YouTube, WADR News. In Senegal, the Council for the Observation of the Rules of Ethics and Professional Conduct in the Media Corps has officially appointed its 7 tribunal members. The inauguration ceremony was presided over by the Minister of Justice, Ismaila Majo Fall. The newly appointed members of this self-regulatory media body are Sheikh Malikoli Kurani Jara, Babakar Ajub, Memuna Gai, Sheikh Tijan Injai, Awa Chow, and Raki Noel Wan. Their primary responsibility will be to ensure that journalists in the country adhere to ethical standards and face appropriate consequences for any violations. Mamadou Cho, the president of the Council for the Observation of the Rules of Ethics and Professional Conduct, has been speaking to WADR on this development.
Yeah. In fact, what we call the self-regulatory body for the media in Senegal has a tribunal, which is, judging the misdoing of the journalist and the media technician. So, and for this tribunal, it has a three-year term. So we were inaugurating the new tribunal, which has 12 members. And for the next 3 years, these 12 members will be in charge of, trying journalists who will be guilty or not misdoing in the job we're sharing. This is the journalism.
Right. Senegal is heading towards a very critical moment. That is the 2024 general elections. Now, journalists also play a key role in this process. So what arrangement or what have you done to prepare journalists for this course that is ahead of us?
At the inauguration of this tribunal, the person representing the Ministry of Communication, which is in charge of the sector of media, announced that before the end of October, the list of the media respecting the rules, according to the law, what we call the Code d'Appel, this list will be published. And that would be a good step forward, because so far there are very many media. We don't know if they respect or not. And most of them, if you scrutinize, you will find that at least, they do not respect the law, on the press. So we are working with the ministry on the issue, with the CNR, which is the regulatory body created, set up by the government. So hand in hand, because we want to make the media more professional. And, in this period leading to next year, there is a lot of manipulation coming from the political circles. So if you are a good journalist, you have to pay more attention in the news you're publishing or you're writing on.
That was Mamadou Cho, the president of CORED, a self-regulatory media body in Senegal.
This is the newspaper review. Stay on top of the news. Get the most important stories with added insight and concise review.
This is the newspaper review.
And for today's press review, let's join WADR's Atiun Imbila Lawson in Accra, Ghana for a brief review of trending headlines on pages of the national dailies.
Welcome to the newspaper review. Let's start with the headlines in the Daily Graphic newspaper. The screaming headline, Hope for Kidney Patients, Local Producers Pledge Infusions for Dialysis. Then some banner headlines, GTech suspends accreditation of new programs for public universities. Also, high attrition poses danger to education as 10,000 teachers relocate to the UK this year. Let's go to the Daily Guide newspaper. Let's look at the screaming headline. Ato Forson begs for settlement in €2.37 million case. Ato Forson is the minority leader in Parliament. Some banner headlines. Members of Parliament should represent citizens' interests, according to President Akufo-Addo. Winneba Level 300 student commits suicide. Very unfortunate story there. Let's go to the Ghanaian Times newspaper. The screaming headline, Teacher Exodus to UK looms, over 10,000 certified work abroad, according to the National Teaching Council. Then some banner headlines. At the opening of the Commonwealth Parliament, let's promote citizens' interests. President charges Commonwealth parliamentarians. Let's now bring you some business stories. The Business Analyst newspaper, the screaming headline comes from the Tema Oil Refinery story. And it says Tema Oil Refinery workers demand dissolution of board over incompetence and alleged underhand dealings. I won't resign. That's what the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Addison, is telling members of parliament affiliated to the opposition National Democratic Congress, and then translate Commonwealth values into tangible outcomes for citizens, according to Ghana's President Nana Akufo-Addo. Let's end with some more business stories. The Business Finder newspaper, the screaming headline, High Attrition Hits Education as UK Employs 10,000 Ghanaian Teachers. Then some banner headlines, Fintech can do more to spur economic growth. And finally, add value to crops to stay competitive on the global market. And that's how we end a newspaper review for today. My name is Atiewin Imbila Lawson from Accra, Ghana. Back to you in the studio.
This is the countdown to the general elections in Liberia. The countdown.
Now, as Liberia counts down to the October 10 general elections, the civil society organizations, the political groups, and activists have reiterated the need for peace and respect for the rule of law. Electoral integrity in a country that is witnessing a voting season free of any international military support is particularly crucial to avoid reversing the gains recorded post-Liberia's civil wars. To this effect, the National Elections Commission, NEC, says it is on track with the preparations, including the deployment of essential electoral materials to all 15 counties, training of over 5,000 election staff, and partnerships. Hundreds of election observers from the regional bloc, ECOWAS, and the EU have also arrived in the country. Speaking to WADR, coordinator of a coalition of CSOs on anti-corruption, Johnson Koina, describes the campaigning atmosphere across the country.
Civil society have been playing an active role in terms of providing sensitizations and awareness around non-violence electoral campaigns. But recently, in Lufa County, a county where the former vice president, who is the major opposition leader from the United Party, hails from, there was some issue of violence that resulted into death, which of course we all have condemned it, and government currently is carrying out investigation. Some people have been arrested and they will be investigated to face justice. But overall, things have been relatively calm. But the major tension is between the ruling government and that of the major opposition political party, Unity Party.
The peace pact that political parties and their candidate would sign to ensure that the elections go peacefully. Do you think that the one in Liberia is being respected to the latter? I mean, because also there have been reports of hate speeches and incitements here and there.
Yeah, we right now, to be frank, we all are hoping for the best because there have been some delays in terms of the implementation of the elections law. Recently, major opposition party have to go to the Supreme Court, issuing a writ of mandamus that compelled the National Elections Commission to publish the voter roll. So these are some of the ticket issues, and we are hopeful that we are on the right trajectory to ensure that October 10, Liberians, the over 4 million plus eligible voters can go to the polls to be able to elect new leaders. So we are just hopeful, but so far with the recent violent activity in Ufa, everyone now is preaching peace. And like I said, political parties are wrapping up with their campaign activities. So definitely we are hopeful that elections will be implemented in keeping with our laws and in keeping with the country.
As Liberia goes to the poll on October 10, how crucial is peace?
Yeah, so it's a crucial movement for our democracy, considering the fact this is the first time since the end of the Civil War Liberia goes to election without the presence of an international peacekeeping force. Security issue is very key because our security is also fragile, and our own security forces are not fully capacitated to peace war status. So this is something that is very crucial in terms of how, if there's any issue of demonstration or protest, how professional our security forces can be is something that we all are worried about because they are not very experienced to managing election conflicts. Like I said, since the end of the Civil War, this is the first time that our elections will be in the hands of our own security. So it is very crucial, it's very critical, and we all are ensuring that political leaders can be responsible enough if there are any issues to seek redress through the code of law. Is something that we are hoping for, because recently the U.S. government, through the U.S. Embassy, issued a statement cautioning political leaders that anyone that will be involved in the election rigging or violence issue, they will be accountable. So these are issues that we all hope that political leaders will adhere to, and we can have a peaceful process after the elections. If there are any issues, we all are hoping that people can seek redress through the code of law.
That was Johnson Koina, coordinator of a coalition of CESOs on anti-corruption in Liberia. It's now time for sports update. Let's join Sankole Janko.
Hello there, warm welcome and thank you for joining us. Africa will co-host the FIFA World Cup in 2030, 20 years after it was first staged by the continent in South Africa in 2020. This comes as FIFA named Spain, Portugal and Morocco as joint hosts for the biggest football tournament in 2030. FIFA President Gianni Infantino made the announcement in a televised video on Wednesday.
The FIFA Council also unanimously agreed that the only bid to host the FIFA World Cup 2030 will be the joint bid of Morocco, Portugal and Spain, where 101 games will be played. Mabruk Al-Maghrib.
Accordingly, the 2030 World Cup will be held across 6 countries in 3 continents, FIFA has confirmed. The opening 3 matches will be played in South America to mark the World Cup's centenary, as it will be 100 years since the inaugural tournament in Montevideo. FIFA President Gianni Infantino explains the rationale behind playing the 3 matches in South America.
The FIFA Council, representing the entire world of football, unanimously agreed to celebrate the centenary of the FIFA World Cup, whose first edition was played in Uruguay in 1930, in the most appropriate way. As a result, a celebration will take place in South America, and 3 South American countries, Uruguay, Argentina and Paraguay, will organize 1 match each of the FIFA World Cup 2030. The first of these 3 matches will of course be played at the stadium where it all began, in Montevideo's mythical Estadio Centenario, precisely to celebrate the centenary edition of the FIFA World Cup.
Morocco will become the second African country to host the competition after South Africa in 2010. And that's it for sports. It's back to you.
Sports is brought to you by Sankole Janko. And with that, we've come to the end of this edition of NewsLink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Christian Mukidi and Mustafa Sek for the technical support. Do interact with us via social media platforms, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram at WADR News, on Facebook, West Africa Democracy Radio English Service, and stream live on WADR.org. I'm Abdullahi Hassan. Good afternoon and keep listening.
And many thanks to you for listening to NewsLink via Hot 104.3 FM, Newmi FM 94.0, and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County. For you listening via Radio Pad 95.1 Damango, Savannah region, and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi, Ghana, we say a big thank you. Remember, West Africa Democracy Radio is all about you, your views, and your opinions.